Alright guys, today we'll be making simple tortillas. Flour tortillas to be exact. So we're going to need some flour, some salt, and then some water. Now whenever you're starting, you'll need like 2 cups of flour. But where I don't have that much flour, we're going to eyeball it. Because you'll need some flour later when you're like doughing it out. And then you're going to go ahead and put some salt in there. You put like a tablespoon or so in there. Then you're going to want to mix that together. This whole process takes like maybe an hour-ish because you had to let the dough sit for 20-ish minutes. And it takes a good second for you to get everything done. So then you're gonna want to add your water slowly because you're gonna want to form the dough. So you're gonna add that in slowly until it forms a non-sticky dough. So about a cup-ish, depending on how much flour you're using. That's why you put it in slowly, because I'm getting water everywhere. Because it depends on how much flour you're using. Whenever I use 2 cups of flour, I usually use about a cup of water. When you're doing this, you want to use kind of warm water. To get all of that together. Now, whenever it gets to like this part, like where it's like doughy, but it's like not forming together, you want to add little bits of water, not much. Still got water everywhere. Now if you need to, you can add more flour if it's not being sticky in it. If it's still sticky once you get your dough all formed, you can add more flour to make it less sticky. And once it gets to this point, you're going to want to start using your hands to like form it together. And I'm going to need more flour in mine, because it's very sticky. You're going to want to add like little increments of flour in here. Now once it gets to where it's not sticky, hold on, give me a second because it's still sticky. So grab the flour that you put in there, that's like excess in there, and kind of like sprinkle that on there to get it to where it's not being so sticky. Sorry about the dog eating. She's loud. I'm gonna make it this dough off my hands, and then we'll add more flour. When you're kneading the dough together in the bowl, you're going to want dry hands. now that it's not sticky. If you have any like loose flour in your bowl, just dump that on your surface, because you'll use that whenever you're like kneading the dough on here. You're gonna want to knead it for 8 minutes. So let me grab my iPad so I can get a timer set. We're gonna do a no-cut video other than whenever it's setting for 20 minutes. So let me get that timer for 8 minutes, because you're gonna wanna knead it for 8 minutes so it's soft and not like elasticy. So it's easier to make the so it's easier to make the balls for whenever it sits. It can get a little messy with the flour while you're doing this. I'm gonna add some more flour onto the counter. If you don't have that much flour, do very, very small amounts on the counter, because you'll need flour later when you're rolling the dough. That way it's easy. It's sticky on there. This is just 3 simple ingredients, pretty easy. When you're baking them, whenever you're like actually making the tortillas, like on the stove, I'll show you that here in a little bit though, on how to like do it, how long on each side and everything. It's easy to roll the batter when you have a rolling pin, but I don't have a rolling pin right now. So I've been using a little hot sauce bottle that my husband gets from work from one of his friends, because his friend's dad makes hot sauce. Now, where I didn't use like the full 2 cups and like the actual like full measurements, mine is smaller. Usually it's like a little bit bigger whenever I make them, but I didn't have that much flour, so it's sticky onto the dang. I'm gonna have to use flour later. This is going to be kind of a longer video because there's no breaks, so I'm showing you the full process. Sorry, the dog is playing right under my feet. Whenever you're like doing this, you could also make rolls with the same ingredients instead of like rolling them out like flat in a minute. You could like roll them out, let them sit for a minute, and then put them on a pan and put them in the oven at like 350 for 10 minutes or until like golden brown. I personally have not made rolls with this yet though, but whenever I do, I will make a video and let y'all know how that turns out. But today we are making tortillas. Now this whole process takes a little bit, so whenever you're making your tortillas, just make sure you have time. We got about a minute left of kneading the dough. If it starts getting sticky whenever y'all are kneading your dough, just add some more flour onto the counter. But where I'm working with limited flour, it's not really that sticky. Like you can get it off pretty easy. Like, well, it ain't sticky now, but it just did a second ago. Got about 30 seconds left of kneading the dough. Yeah, it just got stuck right there. You can see. It comes off pretty easy though. Okay. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, and now you're gonna wanna kind of grab a piece, however big you want your ball to be for your tortilla. I'm gonna make smaller tortillas this time, so I have more. I'm gonna make smaller balls so I have more tortillas. So you're just gonna wanna roll that up and then just place it down. The bigger you roll them into, the more bigger the tortilla will get whenever you roll them out. So we're just gonna roll those out. Whenever you make the batch with 2 cups, you'll get about 8 tortillas, but if you make it with 3 cups, you'll get 12 tortillas. But if you like measure it like I did today, you'll get about 6. So I'm gonna rinse my hands off, and then you'll need a damp kitchen towel. So give me just a second. You're gonna wanna grab a kitchen towel, get that wet, using hot or warm water. I prefer warm water. And then you're gonna wanna get that excess water out so it's just damp and not soaking wet. Okay, and then you're gonna cover your balls of flour and water and sugar and what? Well, not water and sugar, water and salt. And you're gonna let those sit for 20 minutes. So put on a timer for 20 minutes and then we'll be back. Okay guys, now that they have set under a damp towel for 20 minutes, you're gonna put some flour. Let me put my face up. Grab whatever you're rolling with. I'm using this hot sauce glass. Put some flour on your counter. I'm gonna move my phone over a little bit. Okay. Now you're gonna wanna like spread out the flour so it's lightly floured where you're doing it. I'm gonna take my ring off so I don't get flour all over it. Now we're gonna put this on here, flatten it out a little bit on the flour, stretch it a little bit, and then we're gonna roll it with your rolling pin, your glass, whatever you wanna use. And you're gonna roll those until they get very, very thin, pretty much. Now, I don't recommend making your little balls as small as mine because I'll show you how big my tortilla is here in a second. Let me get it all rolled out real quick. I would do a bigger ball because this is how thick, well, how big my tortilla is gonna be. But if you want to, you can, if you want smaller tortillas, or you can roll them out very, very thin, almost like where you can see through them. But I'm gonna, yeah. Now you're gonna wanna get the excess flour off of them by just doing this. Then I'm gonna go stick them on the counter next to my stove. Okay, now we're gonna bring the flour back together, grab another bowl, get that flour on there, stretch it out a little bit with your hand, I find it's easier to roll them if you're stretched out a little bit. And then just roll them. And then when you're rolling them, make sure you're flipping them. It's easier to roll them that way. And then just roll them one way and then turn it and roll it that way. And then you're gonna want to repeat that until you get your desired size or your desired thickness of your tortilla. So we're just going to roll these up. Make sure they're not too thick or thin. And then you're going to want to get that excess flour off by just doing this. Pretty simple. And then go stick it right with the other one. Okay, and then bring your flour back together. Grab another ball. If it gets stuck to the counter, that is okay. Just pull it. What, Grace? Sorry. And I'm gonna flip it and then roll it around. And then try to make sure it don't get overlapped when you're rolling it, because it's a pain in the butt to get out. Walker. The dogs are in the kitchen. When you're making anything, I recommend you put your hair up. And then, see, the bigger you make your bowl, the bigger your tortilla is going to be. But I didn't make them very big, so. Then we're just going to go stick this where the other tortillas are. Quick, Grace. And grab it off of the counter. Now, stick it in your dough, well, your flour. Stretch it out a bit, and then roll it. Like I said, it is easier with a rolling pin. I'm sure it'd be easier with a rolling pin, but I don't have a rolling pin, so this works just fine. Or you could use a regular glass bottle or a glass. They don't have a handle, obviously. Make sure it's not too thick. Okay. And then get the extra flour off, because if you don't, it is a pain in the butt to make on the stove. Okay. Now that you're on your last two of your tortillas, go ahead and turn your stove on so your pan is preheating, so it's quick and easy. Turn that light on. And just roll them out. this loud. You can kind of like stretch them out with your hands too. And then just get that extra flour off. Get that extra flour off. And put this over with your other tortillas. Okay, and then usually you'll still have like extra flour on the counter. Just bring that all together. And then just garnish that however you feel like. Okay, let's head over to the stove. All right. Grab a plate and grab your damn fry because you'll need it. Grab some tongs. Grab some tongs. Now you could put butter in it, but me personally, I don't do that because I find it's much easier to make them just straight in the pan, and then you're gonna wanna pop those in the pan for about 40 seconds. I like to move it around a little bit. You're gonna wanna pop those in the pan for 40 seconds, so. Okay, and you're just gonna flip it and have it on that side for 30 seconds. Okay, and then just flip it to make sure it's good. And then stick it on your plate and then cover it with your damn rag. And then just repeat on the other tortillas. And then you let it sit for 20 seconds or till it gets bubbly. Now, if you don't have the little spots on top of it, like brown spots, just flip it back over and let it cook on that side that don't have the brown spots. And let it cook for a minute, and then just take it off the stove. They can be hard to get to flip sometimes. And stick it on a plate and cover it with that damp towel. Now, if you're making smaller tortillas like this, they would probably be good for chips, but I'm not making chips today, so. If I do make chips, I will make a video on the whole entire process, even making the tortillas again. Put it in for 40 seconds on one side and then 30 on the other. flip it and make sure it's good on the side. And you're all done. Turn your stove off. Okay, and then this is what they should look like. Pretty easy, and you will never have to buy store-bought tortillas ever again. Now, if you liked this video, just comment down below what you want to see next. Like and subscribe, and I will see y'all next time we're baking.